Part 79. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 781. Chapter 781. She is my ex-wife too. I'll come find you as soon as I have time. Tanyuj smiled and put his hands on his shoulders, chatting and laughing with him before leaving Qian Yuman's sight. Qian Yuman stood there, blinking, staring at Tanyuj and Prince Arthur, who were gradually moving away, and then looked down at the watermelon juice in her hand. Did Tanyuj come to help her out on purpose? Tanyuj's behavior this time seemed random. Based on their 4-month experience as a couple, I told myself that he was probably helping her out. Why did Tanyuj help himself out? Qian Yuman couldn't figure it out, so she stared at Tanyuj's back for a long time. However, he found that Tanyuj had not looked at her since just now, and he did not even turn around after leaving, let alone the focus of his eyes. Could it be that she was overthinking it? It happened that Tanyuj had something to do with Prince Arthur. Qian Yuman felt melancholy when she thought about their marriage, which lasted less than half a year. If he really cared about her, he wouldn't have treated her like that, let alone divorce her. It's been 2 years, but she still has some hope in her heart. She should have given up her heart long ago and shouldn't be thinking wildly. Even though Qian Yuman told herself this, after the banquet, when Qian Yuman returned to the hotel, her mood had not completely returned to its original state, and she kept thinking about Tanyuj. She speculated on every move he made, and then overturned it again, constantly thinking about every bit of what happened to them in the past, whether happy or sad. Almost all of them were filtered through her mind. As a result, Qian Yuman stayed in bed and slept late last night. Early in the morning, there was a loud knock on the door. Qian Yuman got up in a daze and looked at the door that kept being knocked in a daze. Suddenly she realized something and immediately jumped up from the bed and ran to open the door quickly. The door opened, and Tina glared at her with a stinky face. Her eyes looked like she wanted to kill herself. She looked at her with dissatisfaction. A pair of sharp eyes quickly scanned her whole body, and then revealed a trace of something that seemed to be missing. Sarcastic smile. May, don't think that you performed well last night and forget that you are still an intern and not an official translator. What time is it now and you are still sleeping? You don't know that even if we don't work in the morning, we still have to arrive. Are you reporting from the embassy next door? Look at how you look now. You have completely forgotten your responsibilities as a translator. Also, don't think that you are just a human because you have the same status as us. Don't think about climbing up the pole, thinking that you can climb into a big boss's bed. You need to have your professional ethics and keep your professional standards in mind. Don't want to fly up the branch every day. If you sit on the phoenix, you don't take your job seriously. Tina continued to curse, scolding happily, and her words had been squeezed in her heart for a long time. Last night Qian Yuman accompanied Minister Jordan and was stared at by many men. She didn't notice it, especially Tanyuj's obvious expression of interest in her, which made her even more unhappy. Today I received a message from Minister Long Live Jordan and Tanyuj making an appointment, and I felt even more jealous. Mr. Tang actually made it clear that Minister Jordan only needed to bring Qian Yuman as a translator, and there was no need to stay with the translation team from yesterday. Mr. Tang already named Qian Yuman, so he would naturally send her there. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 782. Chapter 782. She is my ex-wife 3. But this way, Tina is not happy. According to normal circumstances, if only one casual translator can be dispatched, she will be given priority. Her Chinese ability is her third native language, and her ability is not far behind that of the native Qian Yuman. She was originally the one accompanying Minister Jordan today, but she was snatched away by this new young translator, so she was very angry. Qian Yuman listened to Tina's scolding, and after making sure that her anger had subsided, she raised her finger and pointed at the time on the pointer. First, I didn't waste time. It's only 8:45, and I still have 15 minutes to go. Instead, you wasted 5 minutes by teaching me a lesson. Furthermore, I don't need to fly up a branch and become a phoenix. I am like a phoenix. I know more young talents than you have ever seen in your life. There is no need to go to bed with some big guys who are older than me. Furthermore, my professional ethics. I've always been good, I don't need you to remind me, I'm a newcomer, not a fool. As for you, although you are my boss, you have too much control, and our laws do not prohibit me from dating rich men. After Tianyuman said this, he closed the door and locked it, regardless of whether Tina looked ugly or not. After I finished my cool look, I quickly turned around and ran to the bathroom to wash up and change clothes. I also quickly put on light makeup on my face. All this took only 10 minutes. After putting on her high heels and opening the door again, she saw Tina, who was still angry. She obviously wanted to continue to cause trouble for Tianyuman. Tianyuman ran out with her briefcase and reminded her very kindly. There are still 3 minutes until it's too late. You just said to me, I think you should take care of your own time first. Tianyuman ran out happily. Even in high heels, she ran faster than a bicycle rider. It only took 2 minutes to reach the embassy, which was very close to the hotel. When we arrived at the embassy, she took a breath for me and breathed a sigh of relief slowly. As soon as he arrived at the embassy, Dick moved next to Tianyuman, looked at the door, and whispered. May, I heard that you severely criticized the old witch today. Yes, yes. When I went out today, I heard May scolding Tina so hard that her face turned black. Not to mention how happy it was. Linda, another colleague who shares a suite with Tianyuman, also joined in. Come over. Everyone gave Tianyuman 2 thumbs up to express their admiration. It was the first time they saw a newcomer who could scold Tina so much that even old people like them did not dare to scold her casually. May, don't worry that Tina will retaliate against you later, we will all help you. Dick patted his chest enthusiastically and said that he would protect her. I don't dare, but I will silently cheer you on. You must hold on, Linda said with a smile. Tianyuman clasped his fists with both hands and made a gesture that people in the world would make in ancient times. Thank you all, heroes. Everyone was about to say something when they saw Tina running in panting. As soon as she saw Tianyuman, her face darkened and she quickly walked towards her position. Then he took a piece of information and threw it in front of Tianyuman. You have to accompany Minister Jordan in the evening. Immediately memorize all the information about Mr. Tang. Don't be embarrassed at night. You can't explain why. There is also this information about the cooperation project. By then, the people who hear it will only know it. Translate, remember it for me before lunch, and I will test you in the afternoon. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 783. Chapter 783. She is my ex-wife. 4. You have to accompany Minister Jordan in the evening. Immediately memorize all the information about Mr. Tang. Don't be embarrassed at night. You can't explain why. There is also this information about the cooperation project. By then, the people who hear it will only know it. Translate, remember it for me before lunch, and I will test you in the afternoon. Tina obviously deliberately made things difficult for Tianyuman and threw a lot of information to Tianyuman, but the information about Tangyuj accounted for the majority. Normally, she can remember everything in one morning, especially the key words about cooperation, which she still needs to translate and understand into Chinese. Okay, however, Yuman still nodded and took it, and then immersed himself in reading. As for the content of Tanyu's information, she took a quick look at it and found out that a lot of the information in it was even worse than her knowledge of Tanyuj. Compared with her, who had been Tanyuj's wife, these were nothing at all. Some of the content was even wrong, and it didn't help her much after reading it. As for the content of the project, Yuman read it quickly and memorized all the contents in her mind. After reading it again, she could translate French into Chinese and gradually understand it. It only took her 2 hours to remember everything clearly. Yuman has always been proud of her photographic ability. Although her IQ is not as high as Tanyu's, her memory ability is much better than Tanyu's. Afterwards, Yuman lay down to catch up on her sleep after doing her good deeds. When Tina came over at noon, she saw Yuman sleeping on her stomach and ran straight past her. As a result, Yuman didn't look much better after hearing everything she said. She had memorized all the information about Tanyuj and the contents of the project. Originally, I wanted to make things difficult for Yuman, but I didn't expect that Yuman actually remembered everything. For a while, her anger was blocked in her chest and could not be vented, which made Tina's face look ugly. Yuman was already happy in her heart, and she was gentle and obedient on the outside, waiting for her to continue taking the exam. Once a battle was won, Yuman cheered for a while after Tina left angrily, but she was patient and did not dare to show how happy she was on the surface. However, Yuman didn't care about this. She was nervous about the night at the moment, hoping nothing would happen. Why did Tanyuj deliberately let Minister Jordan call him? He didn't want to cause trouble, right? But given Tanyuj's temperament, he probably wouldn't do that. Although she insisted on getting divorced at the beginning, and it turned out to be a bit ugly in the end, he should not only hate himself, but maybe he would hate this as well. How should I put it? He is also the one who took the initiative to ask for a divorce. Maybe he has a little grudge in his heart and wants to tease her? Yuman couldn't guess Tanyuj's thoughts more than 2 years ago, and she can't guess his thoughts now either. Yuman was originally upset because she met Tanyuj again. As a result, she didn't even have the heart to eat lunch. She was nervous and thinking wildly all afternoon without doing anything. It wasn't until she was about to leave with Minister Jordan that she regained her professionalism a little, put away all the troubles on her face, put a smile on her face, and followed Minister Jordan to the Royal Hotel. The Royal Hotel is the hotel with the highest food consumption in the world. The drinks and food inside are rare treasures. A glass of water costs hundreds of dollars, and the minimum consumption is tens of thousands of dollars, which is not within the reach of ordinary people. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 784. Chapter 784 She is my ex-wife 5. Even Minister Jordan came to the Royal Hotel for the first time. Although he has a high position and great authority, his salary cannot afford him to come here for a grand occasion. Even if he has money, he would not be willing to come here for a meal. He has been in office for less than 2 years. Even if he has the opportunity to eat in the future, he will only come to banquets with leaders of other countries or top wealthy people. Yuman has not been to the Dahao Hotel for 2.5 years. She remembers that the first time she integrated into Tanyu's circle of friends was when she came to the Dahao Hotel and met Lan Tianlu and others. She also saw what the world of real rich people is like. There is never a limit to the horror of consumption, there is only something you can't expect, and there is no price you can't afford. Yuman came to the Royal Hotel. Although she was trying to adjust her inner tension, she still couldn't help but feel uneasy. Thinking of meeting Tanyuj later, her heart became even more complicated. Even she couldn't figure out who she was. Happy or sad? When they arrived at the door, Tanyuj himself came to greet a group of them. When he saw Yuman, who was wearing a handsome purple suit, he was so handsome that he was stunned for a second and almost stopped in his tracks. He was still so handsome and eye-catching, with a devilish smile on his lips, looking at Minister Jordan enthusiastically, and walked forward to greet him enthusiastically. "Minister Jordan, you are finally here. I have been waiting for you for a long time," Tanyuj said enthusiastically, speaking fluent French, which made Tianyuman couldn't help but look at him a few more times. He finally became normal today and actually communicated in French. I wonder if he will use Chinese like he did at the banquet last night? Next, Tianyuman realized that she was a bit redundant. Tanyuj directly communicated with Minister Jordan in French throughout the whole process, without the need for her as a translator. Tianyuman felt bad all over and was annoyed about what Tanyuj was thinking. With Tanyuj's warm welcome, he came to the room that was only used to entertain distinguished guests at the Dehao Hotel. The room was decorated with splendid splendor. According to Tianyuman, every decoration here was made of expensive metal gems. Expensive and high-quality chandeliers are still the cheapest. Those plates, chopsticks, knives, and forks are the most expensive, and every structure is made of diamonds. Anyway, one word, trench. You can be as rich as you want. When you come here, you don't want to know that the Emgrand Group is rich. Tianyuman will still be shocked by the exquisite decoration inside for the second time. Along the way, Tanyuj and Minister Jordan kept communicating in French, and Tianyuman felt depressed for a while. It wasn't the content, but that Tanyuj didn't even look at her from beginning to end, which made her feel depressed and wanted to hit someone. You completely treat yourself like air, so why are you specifically telling yourself to do this? Translation is not needed, at least take a look at yourself. The feeling of being completely ignored by Tanyuj made Tianyuman feel very uncomfortable, which made her want to run up to Tanyuj and wave her hands to let him look at her. She couldn't help being shocked by her crazy years, and she felt a little depressed. Tianyuman sighed helplessly. It seems that my mood is still easily affected by him. While cursing myself for being useless, I couldn't help but care about him. Just as Tianyuman was following Xiao Buzan in a daze, and scolding Tanyuj hundreds of times in his heart, Tanyuj suddenly shouted at himself. "Beautiful Miss Translator, please sit next to me." End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 785. Chapter 785 She is my ex-wife 6. "Beautiful Miss Translator, please sit next to me," Tanyuj's magnetic voice sounded, causing Tianyuman to raise her head and look at Tanyuj in confusion. Then she understood the meaning of his words and cursed in her heart with annoyance. What exactly does Tanyuj want to do? "Mr. Tang, no need, I want to translate for him beside the minister." Tianyuman refused with a smile and walked to stand next to Minister Jordan. She will not forget that today she is here to translate, not to dine as a guest. She needs to be by Minister Jordan's side to translate for him at all times, and eating has nothing to do with her. Even if he sat down, he would sit behind Minister Jordan. What's more, for her to sit next to Tanyuj, this situation is probably unprecedented. Minister Jordan did not expect that Tanyuj would make such a proposal and couldn't help but look back and forth between Tanyuj and Tianyuman. "Where do I need you to translate? You see, there is no obstacle for me to chat with Minister Jordan. I don't need you for the time being. I think you should sit down and eat together. You are tired of standing, so why not eat together?" Tanyuj waved and patted Tianyuman to sit next to him. The table where Minister Jordan was entertained was a square table, originally prepared for 2 to 4 people. The seat next to Tanyuj happened to be next to Minister Jordan's seat. Tianyuman's mouth began to twitch slightly when he heard Tanyuj's suggestion. What the hell? What on earth is Tanyuj thinking? "Mr. Tang, you are so polite. As the minister's translator, I am not qualified to eat at the same table as you." Tianyuman had a smile on her face, but only she knew that she could no longer hold her smile. And her inner complaints about Mr. Tang were unprecedented. Don't be so polite. What qualifications do you have? Today I'm inviting you and I, not just Minister Jordan. Tangyuj originally had a devilish smile on his face, but when Qian Yuman didn't buy it, the smile on his face I collapsed and felt a little unhappy. Qian Yuman looked at Minister Jordan with a hint of inquiry. May, since Mr. Tang invited you, why don't you come and sit with us, Minister Jordan said with a smile to smooth things over. He had long seen that Tangyuj was interested in Qian Yuman, so today Tangyuj said that he must stay with Qian Yuman, and he also meant to borrow flowers to offer to Buddha. Even if Qian Yuman was sent to Tangyuj's bed at night, he would not refuse, let alone having dinner at the same table. But he could clearly see Qian Yuman's resistance, and he was upset that he had not prepared for Qian Yuman before. He forgot that Qian Yuman was just a newcomer and probably didn't know anything about this, let alone some of the unspoken rules. He had already made plans to give Qian Yuman to Tangyuj tonight. It seems that I will find an opportunity later to have a heart-to-heart talk with Qian Yuman. That's right, you and I know what we are doing. Tangyuj smiled again, but in Qian Yuman's eyes, it was like a fox-like treacherous smile. This bastard. It turned out that he had made this idea a long time ago. After Qian Yuman sat down, Tangyuj nodded happily and talked enthusiastically with Minister Jordan about the food he would eat today. Qian Yuman heard the names of familiar dishes. As a food lover, Qian Yuman's eyes lit up. In recent years, she has made great progress in her cooking skills and often cooks for her son. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 786. Chapter 786. She is my ex-wife. 7. She also often misses the delicious food at the Dorset Hotel, which cannot be consumed without a certain amount of funds. In the past few years, although her father gave her a lot of money to spend, he was absolutely reluctant to spend the money on food. Most of it was used to buy things for his son and improve their living conditions. Now that I am working, I am even more reluctant to ask my father for money, let alone come to the Royal Hotel for luxury. Qian Yuman sat down and listened to their chat. Her mind was actually in a daze. She was sitting in an upright manner, with a somewhat vacant look in her eyes. At this time, a foot suddenly touched Qian Yuman's foot from under the table. Qian Yuman immediately recognized that this person was Tangyuj. The blood in her heart almost burst out from the touch, but in order to remain a lady, she tried her best to suppress it. He suppressed his unhappiness, still with a smile on his face, and silently retracted his feet. Her foot retracted, and then someone's foot stretched out again, even rubbing against her calf. Qian Yuman's eyes instantly became very sharp, and she shot at Tangyuj with evil aura. Their eyes briefly met, and she saw the smile in Tangyuj's eyes. Does this think this is fun? Qian Yuman hid, but Tangyuj came to find her. She accidentally touched Minister Jordan's leg once. She put her hand down under the table and clenched it into a fist, ready to hit anyone at any time. Tangyuj seems to be addicted to playing. Minister Jordan may care about Tangyuj's thoughts, but Qian Yuman does not. Their relationship will not make Qian Yuman afraid of him, let alone worry about whether he will be unhappy. Under Tangyuj's constant provocation, Qian Yuman raised her foot and kicked Tangyuj hard. Minister Jordan had just stretched out his feet when he didn't expect a foot next to him to push hard towards him, causing him to cry out in pain. Well. Minister Jordan frowned slightly in pain and made some noises, but he held back a little and did not scream. Minister Jordan, what's wrong with you? A certain man asked knowingly, with a bright smile on his face. He leaned next to Minister Jordan and asked with concern, but the gloating smile on his face betrayed his happy mood at the moment. Jian hung her head in embarrassment and did not look at Minister Jordan. She realized that she had kicked the wrong person. This was embarrassing. Minister Jordan would definitely deduct 10 points in his heart. Minister Jordan is able to achieve the position of Minister of Economic Affairs. He is naturally an old fox. He can spot the good deeds of the men and women in front of him under the table at a glance, so he will not expose it, and shakes his head with a smile. My foot was cramped just now, but it's fine now. It seems like I need to order another pig's trotter to make up for it. Then he looked at Jian embarrassed expression with smiling eyes, and the smile at the corner of his mouth became wider, and he felt particularly comfortable making an appointment. Jian held her mouth in annoyance and pretended that she didn't exist. Anyway, she didn't need an interpreter today, she just needed to stay quietly. Minister Jordan and Tanyuj continued to chat. Seeing that they were chatting happily, Jian felt like air, and finally used urine to escape to the toilet. When she came to the toilet, Jian breathed a sigh of relief slowly and murmured, feeling annoyed that Tanyuj had teased her just now. She didn't expect him to be so bad and deliberately embarrassed her. Fortunately, Minister Jordan didn't say anything, otherwise she really wanted to find a hole in the ground to crawl into. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 787. Chapter 787. She is my ex-wife. 8. What exactly does Tanyuj want to do? They obviously have nothing to do with each other anymore, so why do they still insist on letting Minister Jordan take him with him today? He was still embarrassing himself under the table. What on earth did he pay attention to? I came to the bathroom and looked at my face, and found that the expression on my face was actually one of embarrassment. I reached out and patted my cheek gently, showing a natural smile. Don't let him affect your mood all the time. Remember that you are no longer husband and wife. Jian sat in her heart and built her mind. At this moment, Tanyuj and she were the most familiar strangers, neither friends nor relatives nor lovers. She didn't know where to put him. Facing Tanyuj, she didn't know what mentality and expression to use to face and communicate. She could only barely chat with him with a polite and unfamiliar attitude, but she knew very well in her heart that they were once very close. When Jian walked out of the bathroom, she saw Minister Jordan standing outside the door, obviously waiting for Jian. May. Minister Jordan. Jian was as smart as Jian. He probably guessed that Minister Jordan was talking to him, so he immediately stood still. Minister Jordan spoke solemnly and looked carefully at Jian beautiful face. No wonder she was attracted by Mr. Tang. She is indeed more beautiful the more she looks at her. She is a rare beauty. As for your performance tonight, I reluctantly give you a pass, but sometimes your attitude and expression are still not natural enough. No matter what Mr. Tang asks, you have to obey, even if he wants to take you to bed. Minister Jordan was serious. Said. Upon hearing this, Jian suddenly looked up at Minister Jordan, a little shocked that he actually said the word sleeping with him so frankly. Even civil servants are inevitably destined to sleep with each other, which makes Jian very disgusted. Especially the natural expression of Minister Jordan's words made Jian feel even more unhappy. You want me to sacrifice my body? Will it achieve your goal? Jian asked directly without doing Tai Chi with him. I know you may not be able to accept it for a while, but you are just an intern translator now. Even if you are a formal translator, you must follow the instructions from above. After all, what you are facing is the long-term economic trend of country F in the future. You can't predict how much benefit you will bring to country F if you can discuss the cooperation case with Mr. Tang. You have to make appropriate sacrifices, not to mention that Mr. Tang is handsome and rich, and is the husband-in-law of many women. It is not a disadvantage for you, but an advantage. Don't feel unbalanced. Even if you miss this kind of thing this time, you will still have to face it in the future. whoever made you look beautiful will suffer in this regard. Don't worry. When things are settled, I will apply for you to pass the internship period, and the salary will even be much higher than that of ordinary translators. Minister Jordan said a lot, just to persuade Tianyuman to sleep with him to achieve their goal. Tianyuman was disgusted when she heard this, and she was even more resistant in her heart. She never thought that she just wanted to be a translator, so why would she sleep with him in front of him? Now that I know that the person I am sleeping with is Tanyuj, my ex-husband, I don't feel unhappy at all. But when she thought about the future, she might be allowed to sleep with other men, even old and ugly men, and she began to consider whether to resign. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 788. Chapter 788. She is my ex-wife. 9. Sure enough, I used to be too naive. I thought that if I was capable, had good academic qualifications, and was admitted to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I could easily support my son with a high salary. Now I find that there are still these unspoken rules. How can I let her happy? Minister Jordan could not see Tianyuman's inner resistance, and Tianyuman did not hide her displeasure. You have no choice in this matter, you must cooperate. Don't worry, not everyone will want you to sleep with me, and I will agree to sleep with you. At least after you get it done this time, I will try my best to help you in the future. You block some. Minister Jordan took a step back and negotiated terms with Tianyuman. What if I refuse? Not just this time, but all the things that involve selling my body in the future. Tianyuman did not sell her body, she kept on climbing the ladder, and just wanted to rely on her own ability to slowly become a top translator. However, not long after she went to work, she saw these dark sides. Minister Jordan narrowed his eyes dangerously upon hearing this. Reject? You will be expelled from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. People who are expelled from our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, let alone being unable to find domestic or global translator positions at home, I am afraid that you will not be qualified. You have to accompany me when you sleep. Minister Jordan replied forcefully, then turned and walked away. That was all he said. It is natural to know that such beautiful and capable women have a sense of pride that belongs to them. In the past, such women also appeared in other countries, but in the end they all succumbed. There are actually not many people sleeping with you, and even if they do, they are only among the top rich or national leaders. For these high-ranking people, a little translator is always looking up to them. Not many people will be unhappy in the end. Because they will get generous rewards in the end, and some translators even get married well through this method. They will get to know many rich people through the people they sleep with, and open up a social circle. In the end, if they are rich people or official wives, they will also live a good life directly with the mistress of the person they sleep with. Some beautiful women got the position of translators just for this channel. Tianyuman was repulsed in her heart and her expression was a little ugly. Even when she was sitting down, the expression on her face was not very good, but she still managed to show a smile that was not smiling at all. Tanyuj noticed that Tianyuman was in a bad mood from the moment she appeared. In addition, Minister Jordan went out just now, so he naturally guessed that she was feeling wronged. Tanyuj felt unhappy for a while. Minister Jordan sat down again. His attitude was obviously much calmer than before. The dishes were served slowly, and drinking was inevitable. The wines Tanyuj served this time were all Tianyuman's favorite wines, which he had selected a long time ago. Tianyuman naturally missed these expensive wines when she saw them, and drank more unconsciously. Coupled with the delicious food, she immersed herself in eating and drinking, regardless of what they talked about. The communication between Tanyuj and Minister Jordan was completely barrier-free, and she did not need to translate at all. In addition, the content of their chat had nothing to do with her. They were all boring cooperation issues. Yuman had been eating for a long time when Tangyuj suddenly took the broccoli from her basin into her bowl and took away several of her shrimps. Yuman, who loves delicious food, instantly became angry. Tangyuj, why did you steal my shrimp? Yuman's tone was a little vicious. The update is over. La la la. Your Majesty, isn't he very active? Like a different person? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 789. Chapter 789 She is my ex-wife 10. Yuman regretted it after shouting this sentence, because she clearly felt the shock in Minister Jordan's eyes. She raised her hand to the shrimp back from Tangyuj's plate and froze in mid-air. She wanted to the shrimp back from his plate, but she felt indignant if she didn't. Yuman glanced at Minister Jordan's slightly open mouth with an embarrassed expression, and finally withdrew his hand from Tangyuj, not wanting to pinch it back. Just pretend it's nothing like that, forget about the vicious tone you just had, and keep eating your own food. Yuman did it, and she resumed eating her own food. She glanced at the broccoli that Tangyuj hated to eat on the plate, and smiled bitterly in her heart. These broccoli are really hard to explain. Within a few minutes, Minister Jordan finally regained his composure. A few shrimps appeared on Yuman's plate, so pink and cute, and another shelling hit appeared. Yuman suddenly raised her head, glared at Tangyuj, then raised her foot and kicked his ankle hard. Tangyuj deliberately made a painful expression, and then looked at himself with pitiful eyes. Pretend. When he met himself again last night, didn't he pretend not to recognize himself? Why did you behave so intimately today? Did you tell them that they were very close? Yuman didn't choose to touch those shrimps, and another one flew onto her plate. Minister Jordan grinned happily, lightening the mood. I never expected that Mr. Tang is a gentleman and could be so considerate to our translators. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that either. Yuman compounded awkwardly. I thought Tangyuj would climb down the pole, but he just didn't cooperate with them, and actually grinned very softly and disgustingly. I'm not so nice to everyone. I've never peeled a shrimp from a woman other than Jian'er. Hearing Tangyuj's words, Yuman felt inspired and looked at Tangyuj with a little scrutiny. She finally convinced herself not to care too much about his words, but actually saying something like this was easy for people to misunderstand, and it was also easy for her already unsettled heart to beat rapidly again. Huh? Jian'er. Is that May's Chinese name? Minister Jordan looked at Yuman in confusion. Minister Jordan then realized that he didn't even know Yuman's Chinese name, but Mr. Tang actually knew it and even called her Jian'er affectionately. There is also what Tangyuj said just now. No matter how discerning he is, he can tell that they are old acquaintances. Have Mr. Tang and May known each other before? Minister Jordan asked in surprise. Yuman frowned slightly, resisting this inquiry in her heart. This was also the first time she heard such an inquiry. Her answer more than 2 years ago was naturally a happy and sweet reply that she was his wife, but today it doesn't have anything to do with it. Yuman lowered her head, her expression a little unnatural, but compared to Tangyuj, who was very thick-skinned, the smile on his face did not diminish. Instead, he showed a look of surprise that Minister Jordan didn't know. Minister Jordan, she is my ex-wife, don't you know? Ex-wife? When Minister Jordan heard these words, he looked at Yuman in shock, and information about Tangyuj quickly appeared in his mind. Tangyuj once married an Oriental woman. Everyone knows that he would bring his new wife to the banquet 3 years ago, so this is not a secret. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 790. Chapter 790, Getting Up Early with a Man Next to Me 1. It's just that since 2 years ago, Tanuj has not taken his wife out again. There were rumors that his wife committed suicide due to miscarriage, and there were also rumors that his wife wanted to divorce him, but Tanuj disagreed. Tanuj, who was very affectionate, was in great pain for this, and finally decided to divorce him. Agreed to his wife's divorce. Nearly every rumor shows that Tanuj has been divorced, and that he ignored his career for more than a year to get divorced. No one has seen him for more than a year. He traveled around the world and forgot about his emotional intelligence. There are many rumors about Tanuj's infatuation, but there is not much information about his ex-wife. Unexpectedly, the ex-wife he mentioned actually came to work in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and was assigned to work beside him. He doesn't know much about May. It seems that he needs to investigate the information about May when he goes back. Thinking of what he had just said to May, he felt annoyed. He actually let Mr. Tang's ex-wife sleep with Mr. Tang for the sake of his career. It turns out that they were once a close couple. No matter what the reason was for divorcing Mr. Tang, Miss May must have been an extraordinary person. Just imagine any talented person who can give up a young talent with top wealth and sell his body just for a small job. Maybe she doesn't like him at all. The more I think about it, the more I feel that what I just did is embarrassing. He also clearly saw that Mr. Tang had feelings for Jian Yuman. He must have still not forgotten May after 2 years. Jian Yuman, who was engrossed in eating the food on his plate, did not expect that Tanuj would talk so calmly to outsiders about their marriage that ended without any problems, and his heart ached. Ex-wife is just his ex-wife now, not his wife. I think back on the time when he proudly showed off to others that he was his new wife and a beauty, but now he could only use the word ex-wife to introduce her. Jian Yuman's face was a little gloomy, Minister Jordan's face was embarrassed, and only Tanuj's expression was natural, as if he was saying something normal. None of the three people spoke. Minister Jordan smiled awkwardly, glanced back and forth at the awkward atmosphere between the two people, and instantly understood more. It turns out that Mr. Tang and May were husband and wife before, and I only found out now, ha ha ha. That's all in the past. Jian Yuman smiled awkwardly. She was not used to talking about her previous failed marriage yet, so she could still be in a natural state. Later, she immersed herself in eating. Tanuj brought shrimps to her plate several times. She did not show any surprise. She happily accepted his weird behavior and ate slowly. She said she was not happy because she was lying. It's been a long time since I've enjoyed his gentle treatment, and I really miss him. When Jian Yuman went to the toilet midway, Tanuj watched her leave and immediately said to Minister Jordan with a smile. Minister Jordan, do you know if Jianer has a boyfriend? Mr. Tang, May has just started working, so I don't know much about her personal relationships, but if you want to know, I can help you find out. Tanuj waved his hand. No. Mr. Tang, I can see that you still have feelings for your ex-wife. Tanuj's eyes were a little sad. He took a deep breath and smiled. So in the future, please trouble Minister Jordan and let me get closer to your translator to see if we can reunite our husband and wife. End of this chapter.